So let's start with Batman Begins. Now, Batman Begins is an interesting film for me because I remember watching the trailer for it and thinking that this was going to be boring because it seemed just origin story stuff and no real superhero supervillain conflict, the stuff that I was used to seeing in a superhero movie. And you know what the irony is? It turned out to be my favorite superhero movie of all time. I was blown away by this movie. I remember when I first saw it, I just didn't really care, and then once the film was over, I felt almost ashamed of the fact that I actually didn't care going in. This is a fantastic movie. This movie tells the origin story of Batman, or Bruce Wayne. His parents are murdered and then he goes into the mountains to train under a group of ninjas that call themselves the League of Shadows. He then returns to Gotham City and becomes Batman and fights the city's criminals. The film, I think, is a very good origin story because it's not too heavy on the backstories and the flashbacks only happen when needed. And it's very easy to tell when it is a flashback as opposed to other Christopher Nolan related superhero movies. It's very well told, and it's very well paced as well. You can break the film up into different acts. You got Act 1, Bruce Wayne training in the mountains and becoming Batman. You got Act 2, him in Gotham City getting his equipment together and starting to fight crime. And then you've got Act 3, finding out just who is behind all of this. The cast are fantastic. Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne, he is great. And you know what? His voice, his Batman voice that everybody makes fun of, in this movie, it's actually pretty casual. There are only a couple of scenes like the, "Where are the other drugs going?" where he really, lets it out, and it's kind of silly, but other than that, he's actually pretty casual with his voice. It's similar to Michael Keaton's voice in the 1989 Batman movie. But on top of that, the rest of the cast are great too. Michael Caine as Alfred, he's fantastic. He serves almost as a father figure to Bruce Wayne. Liam Neeson as his trainer, Henry Ducard, he's fantastic. Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon. This is how Commissioner Gordon should be. He shouldn't just be some cop who just says exposition. He should be a character who helps Batman, and that's exactly what he is in this movie. Lucius Fox, played by Morgan Freeman, who's almost the equivalent of Q from James Bond. He's the guy who makes all of his gadgets. Even Katie Holmes, I think, did a great job as Rachel Dawes. I don't get why she was actually nominated for a Raspberry Award for this movie. I thought she still did a good job. Not the best of the cast, but still pretty damn good. Some people complain that the action scenes are too shaky cam heavy, but you know what? I think it works because you're trying to keep Batman mysterious. You're trying not to show him off totally, at least not right now. This is the first movie. We're just introducing him. And the quick editing, I think, works to this movie's advantage. The music by Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard. This is before everything Hans Zimmer did had to be bow, bow, and the climax is one of the best, I think, in any superhero movie ever. It's thrilling, it is action-packed, and it is suspenseful to the end. And what sets it apart from the other Batman movies, I think, is that it's very unpredictable. It'll pull surprises right out of the corner and surprise you, and you're not exactly sure what direction the film might be going. And that's one of the reasons why I think it is the best comic book film that I have ever seen so far. Now moving on to The Dark Knight. Most people consider this to be the best comic book film ever. I love this movie as well. However, I just like Batman Begins just a tiny bit more. I know for a lot of people that's not the case. They like Dark Knight more, but that's just my opinion. But it is still an amazing movie. This movie introduces the character of the Joker, and Batman has to fight him. Heath Ledger, need I say more? He was fantastic as the Joker. It is so sad that he died because I think he would have gone on to do so many other great roles in the future. He totally stole the show as the Joker. You could pretty much quote every single one of his lines. He's so goddamn memorable. And the interrogation scene, one of the most beloved scenes in any comic book movie, did a great job of showing the similarity between him and Batman. And speaking of great performances, again, the cast are all awesome. The people returning from the first film are great too, and the new cast members are also great. Aaron Eckhart as Harvey Dent is great. His character is so interesting. He has one of the best story arcs, I think, of any of the characters in these movies. He starts out as a symbol of good, but by the end of the movie, he ends up turning evil. The action is a big step up from the first movie. The action in the first film was great, but this one is even better. The car chase in the middle of the film with the Joker and Batman on the Batpod, that scene is incredible, and it's all real. That's what's great about Christopher Nolan. He does it all for real. There's a little bit of CGI here and there, but for the most part, it's real people doing these things, and that's why I love it so much. The music is awesome. There's a great new theme for the Joker, which is sort of a violin string, and it brings that psychotic edge to it, which really fits for the Joker. In many ways, it's even more deep than Batman Begins. Though I still like that film a little bit more because it is more unpredictable, and it did take a little bit more chances, in my opinion. This film still takes a lot of chances, but I do think that Batman Begins is just a little bit better. This movie is near perfect from beginning to end, and I absolutely adore it, just like the first movie. The Dark Knight Rises is the final film in the Batman series. This film is a little bit more divisive than its predecessors. The film was very anticipated. It made millions of dollars at the box office, but some people feel that there are a lot of problems in this movie. And I'm just going to come out and say it is my least favorite of the trilogy. Initially, I actually liked it more than The Dark Knight, but I've come to love The Dark Knight much more. But I do still really enjoy this film, despite its problems. In this film, Batman battles a new villain named Bane who wants to destroy Gotham City forever. So what problems do people have with this movie? Well, one of them is the character of Bane. Now, don't get me wrong, Bane I think is a great villain. He's masterfully acted by Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy did a fantastic job with this character. He's very threatening, but also very smart. And there's a real sense of danger whenever he's around. And he actually beats the crap out of Batman. Like, he is very strong, very powerful. One of the best fight scenes in the entire series has him just beating the crap out of Batman. And it's a great scene. However, one of the major criticisms of his character is that he's someone else's henchman, basically. He's a follower of another villain from the earlier Batman films, and that disappointed a lot of people, and I can see why, because his character is so awesome and so interesting, and then when you just find out that he's just sort of a pawn, it disappoints you. Not to mention his death scene. I think everybody has pretty much complained about his death scene. It's so disappointing. His character is great. It goes by so fast. I remember when I first saw this movie, I was like, oh, that's it? However, it was such an exciting sequence, I guess I didn't really care at the moment. Another one is that there are loads of plot holes in this movie. Yeah, there are a lot of plot holes. Granted, there were plot holes in the other two Batman movies, but with this one, it really feels like they tried to rush the movie out as fast as possible, and it's a real shame. The writing in the first two films was fantastic, and even when it didn't make sense, it didn't really matter. In this film, however, there are so many plot holes that don't make sense that listing them off would just take forever. Another big one is that the film is really long. Now, don't get me wrong, the other two Batman films were long too, but this one really drags. It's almost 3 hours in length. And it wouldn't be so bad if there was a lot of action in it, and there really isn't. The film goes by for like almost an hour with barely any Batman. It's just Bane and his men tearing up the city, which, don't get me wrong, is great to watch, but you're just kind of sitting there thinking, gee, when is Batman gonna come back? That being said, when Batman does come back, it is awesome. The moment where he is climbing out of a pit, he climbs out and he jumps and the music rises up and it is awesome. It is a totally badass moment. The climax to this movie is fun on its own, but considering that you've been waiting a long time to see it, it's kind of disappointing and underwhelming. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is a great sequence where the cops and Bane's mercenaries fight on the street, but it's too short and it left me wanting more. And there's another fight between Batman and Bane, which is again great, but it just left me wanting more. And it feels like they could have sacrificed several of this time that they spent on this stuff that really didn't add up to much, like Bane killing one of the police officers. I think they could have extended this action scene and made it a lot more exciting. But there is still a lot to love in this movie. Again, the cast are great. Christian Bale gives arguably his best performance in this film as Bruce Wayne. The scenes between him and Alfred are great again. Michael Caine is outstanding in this film. One of my favorite scenes of the film is the scene where he talks about how that he has this fantasy that he would go to this restaurant and would see Bruce and his new family in the restaurant as well. They wouldn't say anything to each other, but they both know that Bruce was happy. That is great. There's so many great scenes like that. Gary Oldman is back once again as Commissioner Gordon. Sadly, he doesn't get to do as much in this movie because he's in the hospital for a lot of it. The new actors like Joseph Gordon-Levitt as John Blake, he's a great character. One of the best scenes in the film is between him and Bruce Wayne, where he talks about some of the ways that they're similar. Anne Hathaway as Catwoman. I remember I was a bit concerned when I heard that Anne Hathaway was playing Catwoman. And then when I saw the film, she was amazing. In my opinion, she actually tops Michelle Pfeiffer from Batman Returns, who was also great. The emotional moments in this movie are very touching, and the ending is quite sad until they go and ruin it. Yes, let's talk about the ending to this movie. Spoiler alert, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I have to talk about this ending because it's just so bad. Batman carries a bomb off of Gotham City and out to sea, and it explodes. And first you're thinking, oh, I guess he sacrificed himself and he died. Now, when I first saw this in the theaters, I thought, gee, that's really sad, but it's very satisfying. He sacrificed himself to save the city. We get this very heartfelt sequence where we see all the people's reactions to his death, and then we see a new bat symbol recreated, and then we have John Blake discovering the Batcave. That is great. That is the perfect way to end it until you realize that Bruce is actually alive. And it goes back to the same thing that I was talking about earlier of Alfred in the restaurant. He sees Bruce with Catwoman, or Selina Kyle. They're dating, they're a couple now, and everything is all happy and yay, the end. It totally ruins that emotional moment where he sacrificed himself. I remember when I first saw the film, I thought it was just a fantasy going on in Alfred's head, which would make sense because why does nobody recognize the most famous guy in the world at this restaurant? It's just so stupid. There's still a lot of great stuff in this movie. As I said, the cast are great. The dialogue is very well written. The cinematography, fantastic. There are so many great shots, so many rich shots in this movie. The action is great, although, again, it left me wanting more. And that's really the biggest fault of this movie. It's so great, but it leaves you wanting more, even if it is almost 3 hours in length. I do still like it. The cast are great, the writing is great, the story is well told, the action scenes are exciting, the emotional moments hit home, but it does still have some issues that does prevent it from being as good as its predecessors. As for the Blu-ray collection itself, it is really cool. There is a lot of cool extras here. You've got the booklet with art and drawings in it. You've got pictures of all the different villains that you can frame. And then you've got a new bonus discs with some new documentaries, like a conversation between Christopher Nolan and Richard Donner, the director of the original Superman, which is very interesting seeing these two directors of superhero franchises discuss and talk about their experiences making these movies. You've also got a new documentary talking about the creation of the Dark Knight Trilogy. It is very interesting, and how they talk just about how much effort went into making these films and how much they didn't want to just make good comic book movies. They wanted to make good movies. And I think this collection is very good and a must-own for any Batman fan. Batman Begins gets 10 out of 10. The Dark Knight also gets a 10 out of 10. The Dark Knight Rises gets an 8 out of 10. And this Blu-ray collection also gets an 8 out of 10.